Oh, okay.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. I got the chance to do that because in the old days, I would forget we were doing this over the phone, and I'd always forget to record. And Glow would give me some, you better record that thing. So just in case. We're going to be putting these on the website. In fact, our new webmaster is on board, and he's been putting everything we've got up there. So you can go to Toolbox, Brownfields Toolbox.org. It's brownfields-toolbox.org, and there's all of the PLCs up there now, and all of the connect issues, and we're updating it as we go. So it's got a lot of information. This recording will probably be up by next week, so we'll do that. Well, this gives us an opportunity to introduce ourselves to each other, and the reason we do this is because we're a small group. A lot of what we do in terms of technical assistance is peer-to-peer learning. We're learning from each other. We're trying to find out what works, what people have done, what hasn't worked, and it's a matter of sharing experiences. So part of that is getting to know each other and putting the faces with the words. And hopefully when we all get to Alexandria next October, we'll have some familiarity with each other. So I'll start off left to right, and we'll just kind of introduce everyone. I'm Mike Senyu with HMTRI, and my co-host is Steve.
Hi there, I'm Steve Fenton from state of Florida, where it's 88 degrees. I know you were talking about being warm and cold all over. We're just 88 here, so just wanted to say hello.
Russell from ECA.
Russell Hicks with the Energy Coordinating Agency right here in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love and cheesesteaks.
There you go.
You're more than welcome for a tour here at the ECA anytime.
Someday we've had you on as a guest. ECA, we all drool over ECA. Knight Foundation gave them a fantastic training facility. We'll be hearing about this later. We'll get you back on to give us a tour. Christine.
Good afternoon, folks. I'm Christine Blanche from Sobro. I run career services, including young adult career trainings, green trainings, green job placement. That's kind of what we do here. Myself and Gustavo McLean, who's also on the call. He's our youth build director, and he leads kind of our youth build population through trainings, career placements, high school completion. And we're just kind of forging together to create this transparent view of what our postgraduate, post-training pipelines look like for 2022 and beyond.
Thank you. Diana?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Rainy, Connecticut, with the workplace. We're a workforce development board in the Bridgeport, Connecticut area.
Okay, Shantae?
Good afternoon. I'm Shantae Vincent from the Weston Neighborhood House Education and Employment Center. And we have our environmental training grant. So we do our cohorts, rolling cohorts every couple of months.
Great. Gustavo.
Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware.
Great. Gustavo.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Gustavo. I am the Director of Youth Build and Workforce Training for Sobro. As my counterpart Christine said, I'm responsible for the workforce training for the South Bronx for youth, as well as the community.
Fantastic. Sarah? Oh, we're going to have to unmute.
Sarah Allen from McCurdy Ministries. We do a fair amount of adult education, and we are going to be having some Brownfield grants coming up in the future for several different projects. And so we are looking to kind of help create some of our own qualified workforce. And we are working with the College of Santa Fe in a joint grant.
Fantastic. Welcome, and we'd like to get you into the team. Hugo.
Good afternoon. Hugo Prieto from ECA, Energy Coordinating Agency at Philadelphia, PA.
Okay, Shakita.
Good afternoon, Shaquita Barnes, the grants manager with the city of East Point, and I am located in East Point, Georgia.
And Rita.
Rita Ware, Regional Coordinator, Region 6, but covers 5 states, Texas, New Mexico, Arkansas, and 2 others, I don't know.
We had a nice panel a couple of weeks ago that worked really well. Sharon?
Hello, my name is Sharon Lair. I work for Louisiana Workforce Commission, the state of Louisiana. I work directly with State Youth Services. Our main focal point is to focus on youth in school as well as youth out of school with a plethora of opportunities as well as resources.
Yes.
And gumbo and crawfish is waiting for you.
Oh, we'll be there.
I'm ready.
All we need is another hurricane. We'll all be down there. Well, Chris.
Hey, good afternoon. Chris Campbell from Charlotte, North Carolina. SVP of Community Partnerships for Enlivian. Enlivian is the housing authority here in Charlotte. And we work closely with Dr. Tanya Thomas and Twin. So we are we benefit from some of those great trainings that she's able to provide us.
Charlotte's done some wonderful things, I have to say. It's a city that works. We did some conferences there. You know, when they had a lot of unrest, one of the few cities that didn't have riots, this goes way back, was Charlotte, because the mayor of the city and city council said, we want to communicate with the community. And it's one of those, at that time, it was one of those rare things where the city government works hand in hand with the community. So we'll hear more about that from Tanya. Angel?
Thank you.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Angel Ip. I'm the job training point of contact here at EPA, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, Region 10. I'm based in Seattle, Washington. We serve Alaska, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and all the tribes. I'm just really excited to be here. I joined the Brownfields team like under a year ago, and my own background is in community engagement and children's health, originally from Pennsylvania. So it's nice to hear all East Coasters on the call today, and I'm looking forward to hearing from a different perspective on job training. Thank you.
Actually, Region 10 has some fantastic grantees. We had one just the other day, our last PLC, fantastic work they're doing. Quinn, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Quinn Taylor, and I'm with Pulaski County in Arkansas.
Great. Michael?
Hi, this is Michael. I'm the grant writer for Los Angeles Conservation Corps.
Okay, great. Hey, Josh, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, Josh Bender, Lorraine County, Ohio. We are a fiscal year 20 EWDJT grant awardee.
Grand, fantastic. And we're going to have special notes. This is a great year. This is going to be a good year for 2020 grantees because they may be increasing. We'll talk about this later, the number of grants. And we hope we'll get lots of applicants this year. Rachel.
Hi.
Good to see you. Can you tell us about your tribe?
Well, my name's Rachel Mowat, and I work for the Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes Department of Labor. And we house the programs of Office of Veteran Affairs, the Dreams program, Tarot, and vocational rehab.
Great, great. Deborah?
Hi, Deborah Tavar with City of Tacoma. We previously had the job training grants, so not with the tribe, just listening in.
Well, Deborah, we want you back because Tacoma had great programs for I would say you might have had 5 re-ups, 4 or 5 re-ups, and then you
Yep.
kind of left the program. We want you back. 'Cause,
I'm back in the actual position, so I'm so on board and really
Good.
appreciate you.
Get
saying-
ready. The next grants, we'll talk about that later, coming out this the early summer. So
Okay. perfect.
David,
Sorry, jumping in late. Can you hear me?
sure.
So just introducing ourselves.
Yes, sir.
Apologize. Oh, David Jones from CDC of Tampa, Director of Workforce Development. We are in cohort. Our final, I think we have one more cohort before we finish our current grant.
Fantastic. Tanya, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Tanya Thomas, and I'm the Executive Director for Training to Worker Industry Net. We go by the acronym TWIN, and we're located here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
And we'll be hearing from Tanya in a little while. She's done some great things in Charlotte. And I have someone else that has not announced themselves, another call in person. Do you want to introduce yourself? Perhaps not. Okay, well.
Mike, we also had Jake join us there. Hi,
Oh,
Jake.
hey, Jake.
Hello.
Introduce yourself.
Sure. Jake Markowski from the Auberly Employment Institute in McKeesport, Pennsylvania, which is near Pittsburgh, Region 3.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
We're going to be talking about, and you've already seen as people introduce themselves, the variety of job training programs that there are. I mean, there are the social services like Jake's. We've got the social enterprise programs like, well, we'll be having Coalfields on and later on a new grantee that was an old grantee. Recycle Force was a social enterprise where they're giving work to the community and they're giving them training in environmental remediation and getting them jobs. There's the academic types like Santa Fe Community College. We've got the governmental ones like CDC Tampa or the WIBs like City of Richmond. It's another type of grant. These are all job training grants. And then we've got the nonprofits, which we're going to hear about today. They may not be mega nonprofits. They're fantastic community nonprofits, and they're doing a great job in reaching the community and reaching the underserved populations that we need. So the neat thing is we've got this variety. This program allows us to have a variety of structures that all fit into this. You don't all have to be the same. They're all different, and that's okay. And there's not one that's better than the other. Probably the only difference, and if we have time later or the next time, we'll talk, probably the big difference is how they handle life skills and where they get their non-EPA money from. But otherwise, we all have the same objective here. Well, what we normally do now is we'll go to Steve and he'll give us the update on what's happening in Washington and some of the news. Steve?
Okay, thanks, Mike. And I'll try to be brief because we have Dr. Thomas to talk with us this afternoon, and we're looking forward to it. So just kind of give you a brief rundown. The National Environmental Justice Community Engagement Call the next one is going to be April 19th at 2 p.m. Eastern. If you haven't attended one of those before, it's probably worth your while to do so. The purpose of these calls is to inform communities about EPA's environmental justice work and enhance opportunities to maintain an open dialogue with the environmental justice advocates. So they're really good calls. They have a lot of information. Mike and I try to attend them all the time, but you might want to make a note of that. In the notes that we send around on Friday, we'll have links to everything that I'm going to mention to you here too. So again, that one's April 19th. And as was mentioned early on, the Brownfields 2022 opened up, the registration opened up this week. And again, it's August 16th through the 19th in Oklahoma City. So registration's open. You might want to go in and take a look. Mike and I have already made hotel reservations because those things, go pretty quick. So Looking forward to that conference. It's again at August 16th through 19th in person. By the way, HMTRI will have a booth there. We always have a booth at the National Brownfields Conference, and we're looking for anybody who wants to volunteer to staff the booth for an hour here or there. Let us know. It's kind of informal. It's also there for you, so you can have an opportunity to meet with employers and stakeholders and meet them at our booth and maybe talk to them there as well. So serves kind of dual purposes. We like to market all of your programs and then give you an opportunity to meet with employers there as well. So it's a great opportunity. Also wanted to just mention the EP released the final strategic plan to protect public health, address climate change, and advance environmental justice and equity. The agency published its fiscal year FY 2022 through 2026 strategic plan to accompany the FY 23 president's budget. So the strategic plan basically provides a roadmap to achieve EPA's and the administration's environmental priorities over the next 3 years. We'll have a link to the strategic plan in full, so you can take a look at that if you're interested. Also, the president's FY 23 budget requests 11.881 billion, and that's with a B, for the Environmental Protection Agency's essential work to protect people from pollution. And the budget provides 1.15 billion for EPA's Superfund programs to continue cleaning up some of the nation's most contaminated land and respond to environmental emergencies. And the budget also includes 215 million for EPA Brownfields programs to provide technical assistance and grants to communities, including overburdened and underserved communities, so they can safely clean up and reuse once contaminated properties. So that budget, we have a link to that budget as well. Again, it's proposed. It hasn't been officially passed yet, but there is money already available through the Infrastructure Act. We'll talk more about those at the end of the call today if we have time, or we'll address more in the future. Also wanted to mention the mid-year HMTRI networking workshop, which will be May 4th. We just sent out notices and registration link, and we already have people that have signed up, and we're looking to meeting everyone again. It's going to be a half day. It's 12 to 4 p.m. Eastern time on May 4th. So look forward to seeing all of you there. We're basically going to be covering 3 main topics this time. Like last time, we had three different topics. This time, we're going to be talking about partner development and engagement, also participant recruitment, assessment, and retention. And then the third topic is curriculum. So if you have any questions about any of these topics, let us know, and we'll try and make sure that they get addressed at the workshop. And again, the registration link has already been sent out. We'll probably send it out a few more times, and it also will be included in the notes as well. Then also, we're going to be planning our 2022 in-person all grantee meeting this year, October 11th through the 14th. The 2 full-day sessions are October 12th and 13th, and this will be in Alexandria, Virginia. We've just begun solicitations for hotels, trying to identify a host hotel, and registrations and more information will follow. But if you can keep those dates, down, well, there'll be more about it coming up. And also a couple of notes from the Energy Coordinating Agency. We have a couple of their representatives on the line today, but a couple of things I wanted to mention was there's going to be an integrated pest management training press conference April 19th from 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at ECA's Night Green Jobs Training Center. And then also there's an ECA center tour April 29th at 8:30 a.m. at the Night Greens Training Center. And you can see the training center in action and learn about the high impact programs in weatherization, energy, and emergency services. And then lastly, one other thing I found out about them is there's going to be a graduation ceremony at ECA on April 14th from 11 to 2:30. And they're going to be honoring their graduates and, basically a graduation ceremony. So we are happy to mention that to everyone. And again, if you have anything that you're doing with your own organization that you would like us to mention it, include it in our PLC notes, by all means, let us know. You can even hit response to the notes and let Mike know, or send Mike or I an email, and we'll make sure we incorporate it in the notes going forward. So with that, Mike, before we turn it over, I thought what I would do is just post an informal poll.
Fantastic. We want to acknowledge the high achievers. We sent out yesterday the opening of the registration for May 4th. So we thought, let's do a poll and see if anyone has signed up yet.
There we go. And the options are yes, no, or I will register as soon as possible. Thanks for the reminder. All right, so looking good. All right, I think that's probably about it. Share the results. So there you go.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, we
nice.
just started, just sent out the
Yesterday.
registration. Yeah, so that's good to know people have already registered.
Thank you for responding so quick. And for those of you who are like me, who procrastinate, when this is over, if you could take 5 or 10 minutes, just if you've got the email in front of you, you just click on that and it'll set you up. We'll send reminders as we get closer, and we'll try not to pester the people who have already signed up.
And two of the things we ask also is if you have a video, or you could make one, and again, it doesn't have to be professional. It can just be, something that you do with your iPhone, video of, do a video of your program, and would like to share it, by all means, let us know. Those are the most valuable things that we show every year at these conferences. People really learn a lot and say they really enjoy them. And then also we're looking for anybody that's interested in volunteering to be a breakout room recorder for us. That would be helpful as well.
We're privileged today. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, any questions?
We're privileged today to have Dr. Tanya Thomas from Charlotte, North Carolina, talk about her program. And as I said in the beginning of this PLC, the beauty of this program is the wide diversity of the types of programs. So for those of you who are new, those of you who are re-upping, you can see that different types of programs work just as well as others. The main goal is to reach the community, to provide training to them, and to get them jobs. Twin training to work in an industrial niche is an interesting one. They're addressing the community needs in Charlotte. They are zero focusing in on finding people who underserved need jobs, train them in remediation, and get them the job. So with that, Tanya, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about your history and your program and what you're training and how it's going. They are a two-time grant recipient. They were they started out and demonstrated their program, and then they were re-upped. Tanya, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Mike. First, thank you for allowing me the time to share information about our program, our EWDJT program. So as I said, yes, we are from Charlotte, and we are a nonprofit organization. I often say we're small in number, but we're giants with our intentions that we have toward our mission, which is overall is to support the personal and professional development of individuals. So workforce development is one way that we do that. And so under the EWDJT program, we have our SET program, which stands for Sustainable Environmental Training. And we actually started that program as a pilot program because I think the first time we submitted to the EWDJT program was 2016. So it took us 3 times to submit to the program before we actually got awarded. And one of the things I think that really helped us to become a grantee was actually executing a pilot program. This is where we actually got support from a corporate sponsor to run a pilot program for the SET program. And we were able to work through the ins and outs from the beginning to the end of how the program would actually run through that pilot. And during that pilot program, we also established our advisory board, which consisted of for-profit and nonprofit organizations. As Chris mentioned earlier, Elivian is a strategic partner for this program because our demographics for the SET program is individuals that are, it includes individuals that are in low-income communities as well as individuals that are maybe aging out of foster care or maybe in a shelter as well. So we've actually had graduates from the program from different demographics. So just to give you an overview of what our program includes, so we have 8 courses. It's a six-week program that consists of 8 courses, which includes HAZWAPA 40, asbestos, lead, paint. So you can get a state license to do lead paint abatement, as well as asbestos, OSHA 10, OSHA confined space, first aid CPR, soil and water sampling is an awareness class. Pest management is also an awareness class. And we also have soft skills that we incorporate into the program as well. And our soft skills is really supported by dollars that we get from corporations as well. When we first started the program back in 2018, the city of Charlotte actually had an initiative going on. It was called Project Peace, which addressed a lot of the labor market shortages in the construction industry. So since our program, the courses that we had, I was also relevant to the construction, we was able to get support from the city of Charlotte for soft skills and case management. So some of the things that we couldn't cover with the EWDJT grant, we were able to cover through corporate support as well. In addition to Elivian, some other key partnerships that we have a part of the program are environmental staffing agencies. So when we started the pilot, we intentionally included members that were from environmental staffing agency because those were the people that work with us to help us place our trainees. And then we also work with utilities with the city of Charlotte. Some of our graduates are currently working with Charlotte Water. They started in our program, and then when they graduated, Charlotte Water was actually doing their own workforce development program, and so we were able to help them to enter into their program. So we're always looking for ways to partner with the industry to help our people gain employment afterwards. Another thing I wanted to mention was actually our training, our SET program helped us establish another program. Our ECD, Environmental Cleaning and Disinfecting program, was an initiative that we started back in December of 2020 due to the pandemic. And a lot of the learnings that we had from the SET program, we were able to implement them into the ECD program, where we were able to support 6 senior communities for at least 3 months by giving them a weekly cleaning and disinfecting service. And that was one initiative where we were able to bring, again, people from low income communities train them, and then as a part of their training, give back to the community with that service. So some of our support services that we also provide to our trainees include, of course, resume writing, mock interviews, soft and life skills. Prior to the pandemic, we were doing peer meetups where at least once a month we would get together just for a fun time, if that's just a game night or just to catch up, or a social outing. We would do that. Also, as a part of the support services, we provided all of our trainees with work bags, work boots. We also paid for them to have a health assessment. So we would bring someone in and for his healthcare, doing a healthcare assessment with them to let them know what they were eligible for. Also, well, let me stop and just ask, does anyone have any questions about anything that I've mentioned so far? Okay, so right now, I think up until last year, December of last year, we really focused on the unemployed, even though our program was developed for unemployed and underemployed. December of last year, we started to turn some of our attention to the underemployed because there were so many people that were maybe working part-time, but they were still on a low-income spectrum. So December of last year, we started to focus some on the underemployed. And one way we did that was partnering with a commercial painting, a small business, because still now a lot of small business are having a hard time finding resources or credible resources to help them in developing their own people, because there are a lot of small business they're missing. They don't have enough of labor to cover their workload. So sometimes they will pick anyone just to have somebody there to help with the work. So one thing that we did, we partnered with this commercial painting company, and for all of their employees that were below a certain income bracket, we allowed them to join the SET program, and we put a schedule together to kind of meet their work schedule that allowed them to work and take the training. At the same time, of course, we would do our program in 6 weeks, but we had to do our program in 12 weeks because we had to allow for time for them to actually do their job at the same time. And if the employer was willing to allow them to take the training, then we were willing to kind of break our norm of it has to be done in 6 weeks. So 12 weeks, we gave them 12 weeks to take the training. And one of the things that did for that company was it allowed their people to gain some credentials that they didn't have. And because for example, they were allowed to get the North Carolina lead-based paint license and the asbestos. Because they had those two licenses, they now could qualify for jobs that they didn't qualify for in the beginning. So not only did people get trained with new skills, that small business was able to go after some business opportunities that they couldn't go after prior to some of their employees going through the training. So I think with the pandemic, it causes everybody to do a little bit of pivot, because our target demographic that we pretty much primarily focused on, I think they were a little bit scared to move about, especially in the beginning of the pandemic. So we didn't want to completely stop the program altogether. So we kind of pivoted and said, well, this program is for the unemployed and underemployed, but we haven't really spent time on the underemployed. And so that's where we kind of made a little bit of a shift. And not that we don't focus on the unemployed now, we focus on both, but I think sometimes when scenarios come, such as the pandemic, you have to make shifts in order to stay relevant and to continue to exist yourself. And so we had to do that. Anybody have any questions?
Actually, Shaneka, do you want to say something? I was also really impressed by Tanya, your tenaciousness, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking about. You applied for the grant, and so many people will apply for the grant, and they don't get it, and then that's the papers are pushed away, and they might get discouraged. You didn't. You applied for the grant, and maybe the first time got shot down, but you went to your partners that you had established and you said, let's see what we could do with this. Let's start organizing so that next year we could write a super duper grant. And that might even continue for 1 or 2 years. The beautiful thing about this program, and I'll talk about that in a second, is it is an annual program. And at first you don't succeed. You go to your regional coordinator and find out, what did we do wrong? How can we improve this program? Do we need more partners? Do we need to expand our curriculum? What do we need to do? Which is what you did. And then you went to your partners and say, can you help us? We'd like to do a pilot, and we can learn from that pilot. And the next time we apply for a grant, we'll have experience under our belt. The same thing goes for a re-up, someone who may have submitted for a while and then they took a pause, or there was a personnel change, they lost their partners, the people may have left, they had to restart over. Okay, let's find out what we learned from the other one, and let's reapply. It is annual. I hope they keep that. That I think is fantastic what you did there, Tanya.
Well, I would say that I think the PLC was a big help, because after the first application, we went to, because we joined the PLC, we were able to go to the all grantee meeting. We were able to go to the all grantee meeting. We were able to meet other organizations that had programs. We were able to gain other resources that we could learn from. And so I think the PLC was a very positive. It is a very positive thing, and it's one of the things that helped us to keep going and keep trying, because it can be intimidating when you are competing against other universities and other nonprofit organizations that are larger than you. But again, I go back to small in size, but giants in intent. And when you have the intentions to achieve something, then nothing can stop you but you.
I was so happy that you offered to present today for that very reason that you said, the fact that you're small and you don't have to be a big organization. It is intimidating. In fact, one of the suggestions I made is, let's make this as simple as possible, because for a 17-page application and all the partners, it takes 3 man-months to write your grant. It's difficult for small nonprofits to just go in and try it. Now, I understand why EPA does that. They're trying to ensure success of the program, but you made success of the program, but you had to sacrifice a lot to write that grant and to develop your partnerships. And that takes a lot of effort. But again, this isn't a program like all the other grant programs in the federal government where you have to be big, where the big get bigger, and the little guy who is really connecting the community as you are is shut out because you don't have the resources to write the grant, or you don't have the ancillary services in-house. You were able to get them with other agencies, which is, again, key in that you were able to link up with. The difference between all these types of grantees is that they come from all different places, but they have the same results and they have the same critical issues. You have to do all the same things. So if you're small like you are, you have to find someone you can link up with. In your case, you found the city of Charlotte, and you found they could provide the life skills, and some corporate sponsors who could provide those things that you might not have in-house. I think that's fantastic. The other thing that was neat that you talked about is using the use of staffing agencies as far as employment goes. We have found one criticism, particularly during COVID and other times, was placement became very difficult. And right now, because of the low unemployment rates, staffing can be, placement can be a challenge. And going forward, it may maintain that. But staffing agencies have a lot of subtle advantages that grantees don't think about. One, it gets someone in the door. A lot of companies will use a staffing agency before they full-time hire. It'll get your people there. It'll also act as an indemnification. People don't think about that, but an indemnification mechanism where someone whose background isn't pristine, and if we're to walk in a door or talk to a HR manager, might get summarily dismissed as an employee, can go through the staffing agency, and the staffing agency indemnifies them. They go to work, and the employer finds out this guy is good, and we got to hold on to him, and we got to keep him. So it's a subtle step that too few grantees use, is making sure that they're on board as one of their partners as those staffing agencies. I think that is another fantastic thing that you're utilizing. The other thing I thought that was neat, and other grantees have done the same, is they started this program, and it is somewhat of a starter program. As you look at Department of Labor and huge labor projects, but it gets you moving into other venues, and disinfecting is a good one. In fact, a couple of organizations, Recycle Force was very effective at the same, doing exactly the same thing you're doing, Tanya. They had skills, they had vetted people, and they were able to branch out from the job training, environmental remediation side to this other venue. And we've seen many of our grantees have started with job training with this little grant, 200,000, got bigger, got more grants, got really big. And we've had a few that we were too small potatoes, so they left our program. But the fact is, you were able to use it as a stepping stone to other grants, and it wasn't impossible to get this grant, and it's going to get a lot better as we move forward.
Mike, there's a couple of comments in the chat
Steve,
box.
you want to take this? Okay.
Yeah, a couple of comments in the chat box. Tanya, one person would like to connect with you and left their email address. I don't know if you want us to share your email address or.
Sure, yes.
Oh, okay. And then the other one, Mike, is someone wants to know what the POC is, point of contact with a question mark. And then what is the contact info for our Ohio POC?
Okay.
So two POC related questions.
Well, PLC stands for Professional Learning Community. And we're, HMTRI has been in the business of providing technical assistance to people who want to develop job training programs since around the turn of the century. We've been doing this for about 20 years. This program is really pretty old. It's been very low key, $2 or $3 million a year. They intentionally kept it small. It's not a Department of Labor program. The reason it's an EPA, it's all about remediation. It doesn't support life skills. And as you go on, it's all about training people to do environmental cleanup. And as Tanya so succinctly pointed out, they have a cadre of HAZWOPER 40, asbestos removal, lead removal, confined space. Those are typical EPA remediation courses. When it gets to things like life skills and support services, you've got to go shopping, and you have to get partner support, which we'll be talking about in future job training PLCs. We call it PLCs,
Mike,
professional learning communities.
Mike, we have one more question from Shaquita from City of East Point. she wanted to know if Tanya can talk a little bit about their graduation ceremonies.
Sure. So when we do our graduation ceremonies, well, prior to the pandemic, they were in person. Since the pandemic, they've been virtual. But during our graduation, I think that is something that is significant for the trainees, because a lot of our trainees, when they complete this program, it's probably the first time they will put on a cap and gown. So that's something that's so special for them and to them, and to have their families there to be a part of that is significant to them as well. So typically when we do our graduations, well, let me go take a step back. Throughout the training, we take pictures of everything that they do. So during the graduation, we are able to do what we call a look back from the start, from the time that they enter into the time that they complete it. So they could see how all of the things that they did together as a team, and also how they have grown as an individual in their skill set. So we always do a look back and a playback for them. And so also for their family to see some of the things that they were involved in, because the only thing their family know is that they were at a training program, but they don't know what they did. So during the graduation, we always invite our advisory board. Our instructors are there as well to take part of the graduation. Then any employers that we probably invited in to do a meet and greet, they have an invitation to the graduation as well. But don't take graduations for granted. They are very meaningful to the individuals that are in the program, because just the excitement of getting that cap and gown and putting it on, that truly means something to them, because like I said in the beginning, that's the first time that some of them will ever put one on. And then also, of course, during graduation, that's when we give them their work bags and their steel-toe boots, all of the things to make them work ready. And then we also give the graduates an opportunity to share with the audience any comments that they may have during the graduation as well.
Okay, thank you. City of East Point, we're about to wrap up our first cohort, and this will be the first round of us receiving EPA funding for our program as a smaller municipality. And so we're trying to think of innovative and good ideas for the class, because it is the first of its sort and the first of its kind. So I definitely, appreciate you sharing what you guys do, because it definitely will help us on how we try to organize ours to make it very, very beneficial for those who will be graduating the program. Thank you.
You're welcome. But I'm telling you that cap and gown truly does mean something to them.
And did you guys print them out a certificate?
Yes. So they get, that's when we give them all of their license, all of the license, their state license, also their certificates for each class that they completed. We put it in a binder, like a portfolio binder. And so that way, when they go on interviews, they can just take that portfolio with them and they can show their credentials right there.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Okay. Thank you for sharing.
I would also suggest, if you have a state representative, even a congressman, you would be amazed. They are very happy and they love to attend these graduations. So you could just send it to your state representative. You could send it to your congressman, shoot hi, and they'll, if they're busy, they'll politely say, well, they've got something else going.
Okay.
But I would do it.
Thank you all.
Russell, I think you've got a question.
Nope, that was just a thumbs up. the
You know,
support and the comments about graduation.
graduation is so important, and optics is so important. It's part of awareness. Awareness takes many forms. One is the public awareness. You're out there, you're doing it. So this is in your community. Another part of awareness is graduates who have cousins and friends in their neighborhood, go back to their neighborhood and say, look at what I did. I got a career now. And that all goes a long way in promoting your program.
Yeah, I can add to some of the, some of the best practices you mentioned, inviting local and regional legislators is very smart so they can see your work. Inviting the family members of the graduates can also add to that graduation ceremony. And then invite employers as well to connect the dots to their next steps. And it's a great opportunity for employers to see them in action.
And they also film them. They also film them and put it up on YouTube. And some actually have done live stream on that.
Mike, for Sharon, who asked about the email address, I put Tanya's email address in the chat box.
Okay.
So it's there, Sharon, if you want to grab it. And then did we answer Pat Brown's question about the point of
Ohio
contact?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, and you'll get notes on Friday. If you've got an invite or several invites to this, they're every other Wednesday. The next one will be on the 20th of April, and you'll get notes on Friday afternoon. If for some reason you got into this thing and you don't have notes, I've got my email. The best way is just send your contact information to me and I'll make sure you're on the PLC list, msenyu@gmail.com. Just send me your contact information and you'll get keyed into all of the things we talk about and all of the websites and all of the links. So, and again, we do this every 2 weeks, same time. We try to keep it so it doesn't take too much of your afternoon. Any other questions of Tanya while we have her? Thank you, Tanya. You're doing a great job.
Thank you,
Charlotte.
Tanya.
Doing a great job. Keep it up. We have a few minutes, and I'd like to talk a little bit about moving forward. And some of you may know this, and some of you are new, or some of you haven't been to the PLC before or in a while. For those of you who aren't familiar with what's going on, there's been a dramatic increase in funding. This dramatic increase comes from the infrastructure bill, which has been passed. It's been authorized by Congress. The funds have been appropriated and the money is in the bank. Okay, so this is a sure thing. That infrastructure bill gives quite a bit of money to Brownfields, but also it provides for about $30 million over a 5-year period to specifically job training. What does that mean? Well, we've been funded typically between 3 to 4 million a year. So it'll essentially this year, this starts in FY 23, which begins in October 1st. This will more than double the size of the program funding wise. The last round was 3.8 million. Now it's going to go to say, it could go as high as, it could go to 6 from the infrastructure bill, but in addition to that, there may be normal budgeting money. We normally get out of EPA under the president's budget, we get about 3 to 4 million. So conceivably, there's a possibility this could go up to 10 million for job training grants. And what does that mean? Well, that means this is an annual competition and we hope it'll stay annual. That means that this summer, last year it was in August, beginning of August, there will be an RFA that'll come out, and we're not sure what that RFA is going to say, and they have not shared that with us yet. I'm not sure if they've decided what's going to happen, but normally the grants are $200,000 for 3 years. They're authorized to go to up to $1 million. They're not likely that they're going to do that, but it's possible. What I'm saying is they could raise to any amount, depending on their budget, the size of these grants. They could increase the number of grants. They've taken their budget and they spend it all on job training. So last year, FY22, they got 3.8 million. They gave 19 grants out. They just spent all the money. Same thing will happen this year, but it'll depend on how they want to spend that money. Will they increase the number of grants? Will they increase the value of the grants? Will they increase, say, the duration of the grants? Right now they're 3 years. They could go to 5-year grants. One thing about this, it's likely, from what we understand, that even if you got a grant in FY22 this last year, you would be able to apply for additional funding, like almost like supplemental funding. We're not sure how any of these things are going to pan out. And so they've got basically 4 variables that they could do here with this windfall. And this windfall is going to continue for 5 years. So it's already written in law and it's appropriated, the money is there. So we're going to see some dramatic changes. I guess the moral of this story is just, if you're thinking of applying, apply. If you haven't applied in a while, apply. If you've applied and you're in the 3rd year, definitely apply. Apply in every case you can. And again, we're hoping that they will keep this annual solicitation. So for some reason, whatever they decide to do, if people don't get it the first time, they'll be able to apply to again a fairly flush program as these go. This is a small program. We've really only got about 30 really active. We got 49 funded programs, but of those 49, 19 were just funded. So that leaves 30 that are just ongoing with funding. So it is a small program. And just to close out, let's look at the timeline on this. It's going to be announced somewhere. Last year it was in August 5th, I believe. EPA usually has a webinar about 10 days later. This year, EPA seems to be overachieving. They seem to be doing things in a shorter time. The amount of time to approve these grants, usually about 6 months, they did it in 4. So I wouldn't be surprised if these go out in late June and July. They could go out as late as August. They give you only 60 days to respond. So if the August 5th ones were due in October 5th, so the 60 days is not enough time to write this grant. So we in the PLC here today, and moving forward, the next cohort that we do will be focusing on writing this grant and how to write a winnable grant. But if we assume, as far as your scheduling goes, if this comes out in July, you really need to start thinking about getting your partners lined up. And we'll talk about this next week. Russell, do you have a question?
Nope, that's a thumbs up, just agreeing with you, Michael.
Oh, okay, that's good. We like that. Assuming this is going to come out in July, you've got to start working on your partners, expanding them, getting them, doing everything that Tanya talked about today. Of course, I'm going to say continue with the PLCs and our May 4th meeting to get as much background as you can. Not so much from us, but from other grantees and what has been successful for them. So if you start writing that grant, earmark July, August is a month where you're going to have to be doing some grant writing. Then, of course, to be submitted, the long wait, the grant administration, usually this year they were able to get them out in February. So they did it, usually it's March or April of 23. And then, of course, you go through the administrative process, getting your grant approved. And by the time you get your money to spend, it's got to be done before September 30th of 23. So you'll get your checkbook and start writing expenses. And then your first cohorts will be in fall of 23. So that'll give you just a kind of a general schedule of what we could expect. I wish I could say more about how those guidelines are going to look. Hopefully they'll release some of that information as we move forward here. But there's a lot of things we can do. We can start lining up our partnerships. We could start working on our curriculum, and we'll be talking about that in the future. So, are there any questions? Anyone have anything?
Yes, Mike, I have a question. This is Diana.
Mhm.
I just want to get a take on if any individuals on the line or others that you may know of you utilize any of the online training courses for their participants.
We will be actually May 4th. We've got a breakout on curriculum, and some have, some haven't, and some have used canned courses. They've used national consultants. Some haven't. So it's a little bit all over the map. The cautions are make sure they're certified in your state. If you're taking an OSHA course, they've got to be certified in your course. But there are several providers, which we'll talk about out there, that are doing this type of thing nationally. You might want to go to a community college or university for your training. Pete has a catalog of certified trainers. There's other organizations. We'll be talking about that in the future. Anyone else have any experience with that? Okay, we'll get you the answers to those questions, as we'll also have a PLC strictly addressing curriculum.
We took a poll, Diana, some time ago, and a number of people had been migrating to online training just in general, but not all have, because the nature of some of the classes that require the hands-on component is the difficult part.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about, and how did the participant fare doing the online course?
And I think
the results,
some are doing like a hybrid, like they're doing some of the curriculum online, and then they're doing like a hands-on component in a kind of a safe environment where everybody is socially distanced, and the training is held, in the appropriate way. So it really kind of depends. It's kind of a mixed bag, and we're finding that more and more people now are starting to return to in person. But I think this was a wake-up call too, that something like this could happen again, and how do you keep your program going during a pandemic, and what are the ways that you can provide training and do it safely. And so it's kind of a mixed bag in the surveys that we've done. There's some that have gone strictly to online, some that are doing hybrid, and some that are doing face-to-face that are socially distanced, depending on their location and and the
if you
resources.
can identify maybe a couple who have done it, who are like strictly online, if you don't mind giving me their contact info. I just have we're looking into that as well, and I just want to I'm not so comfortable with strictly online.
Right.
I guess that's my point. Yeah.
And that's for remediation and OSHA. Life skills, a lot of people are doing those online. So you could do, in other words, you could do the life skills and OSHA courses. A lot of our grantees have computer labs, and they'll go in and do life skills. That's where the hybrid comes in. They might do that online. But the elephant in the room is the OSHA.
Yeah, I'm thinking more
how
of
do
the
you fit
OSHA.
up? Right, right.
Yeah.
Actually, Janet Curley, she's done a lot of face-to-face, I think, but she's done some hybrid. OAI, I think, has done some hybrid. Of course, Pete has done, CCCHST has done a hybrid. We could get you a list. In fact, we could put that in the notes.
Yeah,
that would be great. I appreciate it.
After we get off the phone, I'll look at my notes too, because I know I've gotten a lot of responses back that are all over the place, and I'll see what I can round up.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll put those in the notes to share with everyone. Anything else? Well, we're looking forward to next session. We're going to talk to Puerto Rico. So it'll be exciting. And I really enjoy the diversity we've got in these programs. And I hope that we can continue and do well with programs like Tanya's that really reach the community. And we have to maintain this mix of the large nonprofits, the WIBs and the cities, and the small community groups that are out there reaching underserved communities.
Thanks to Tanya. If you're still with us, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. All right. I guess Mike, I think your mic's off, Mike.
If you could send me what you have, and I'll look through my files, and I'll get Diana that we'll put it in the notes.
Thanks, Deborah.
I was impressed by the number of people who had already signed up in 2 days.
Well, I'll tell you, we have overachievers in this program.
They are fantastic. I couldn't ask for, there's not a better group of people. I think the difference is we interact where so many programs, it's a zero-sum game. It's like, this is my grant and I'm not going to share anything with anyone else. And this is really the opposite.
And it has been from the beginning, which is one of the nicest and most refreshing things about it.
Well, it is, and it's a small program. I think I'd hate to see it get too big. In fact, that may be an issue with getting this much money. I think it might attract a lot of people, not for the reasons that we want them to be there. We'll see. Hopefully we'll have this whole session on the internet probably in a week, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You could probably stop recording. Is there anything we want to have on the record? Let's see.
Sarah, thanks for coming. And the nice note in the chat box.
We have a Saint Nick's was not at this one. They have a new, Saint Nick's is an interesting group, a community, almost like a ministry. The Saint Nick's responded to a fire in New York, and the local church started a Saint Nick's community association to provide homes to people. And they built and built and built, and now they've been a grantee for a long time. And then they kind of dropped out for a couple of years and they're back in. And I just got an email from John, who is the new director of that particular job training. So they're providing all sorts, in addition to everything else they do, they provide job training. And we've got a lot of JAKES programs like that where they provide lots of social services, and they've been able to tack on, oh, by the way, we could also provide you with credentials you can't get anywhere else. It's $5,000 worth of credentials, and you can also pick up some life skills. So it is a great. Today we talked about a specific nonprofit in Charlotte, but there are also large social service organizations that are they deliver across the board the advantage of those is then they could stick this program insert it into their program, and they've got the advantage of all the infrastructure within that program. They don't have as much need for the partnership outreach that other programs have, because they're providing housing, they're providing drug rehab, they're providing the counseling already in their organization. And they're just actually, it's incremental. They're just actually tacking on environmental remediation training. So their costs are tremendously diminished because they've got everything anyway. They've got the grant writers, they've got the accounting, everything, all the administrative work is already there. And so now they can take the 200,000 and very narrowly focus it on the environmental remediation. And I think it's an interesting model. It's one of 6 models that are used, but it has worked well for people.
Should I stop the recording, Mike, or?
Yeah, why don't you stop the recording, and we can talk about what you're going to do for the rest of your day. You now that you moved to Florida, it's terrible. I mean,